And we are recording. Welcome to the DQ&Q Lifestyle Podcast with me, Marcus. And we have the freshest man from up north, Reece. Let's say hello, Reece.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hey, up there, bud. And we also have a special guest. And our guest is Kayleigh from...
Carlisle. And I'm actually Reece's cousin.
Oh, hello. Family ting. Hey, up. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about what women want. Who would like to take it away?
Yeah, well,
so do you want me to start
first?
then, since it's about what
it.
women want?
Ladies first.
Let's go.
Yeah, so like obviously, so I've been single like over a year now. Mm-hmm. So I've been like dating sort of on and off and stuff.
Yeah.
And I, like when Reece first asked us about this podcast, it made us think of a conversation that I had with a guy when I was dating. Mm-hmm. And he was asking us, he was like, oh, what do you look for in a man? And at the time I was like, I don't know what I'm looking for. I suppose what I'm looking for is like good vibes, really. That's how you start off, isn't it? That's how it thing. And then he said, well, I'm pretty simple. I just want 3 things: food, sex, and respect.
Wow.
I quite like that, actually, because I actually had it home down to 3 things. And then I thought to myself, what would my 3 things be? So I think for me, what I'd be looking for is obviously respect, 100%. Because like obviously the reason why like previous relationships hasn't worked was because there's been no respect. Consistency, because nothing winds me up more than when, you know, a guy is like 1 minute like he's giving you all the attention and, you know, he's like fully like invested in you, and then all of a sudden it just stops and it's just like what's gone on there, like what's happened, and then your mind starts doing over. And stability as well. So like obviously I'm a single parent, I've got a child. My child is the center of my universe. So if I'm gonna start dating someone and potentially have a future with someone, I need someone that's got stability, because I don't want instability then brought into my child's life. So like they're the 3 things I was looking for. But then I thought to myself, you know, is that necessarily what every woman would want? So if I'm thinking what every woman would want, I work with a lot of women, so like when they come into work, they'll like moan about what the husbands or the partners and stuff have been doing. It's like, oh, such and such, and then I'll actually say to them, I'm like, you know what, you're not actually selling this marriage thing to me, you know, because, you know, it's just, there's so much like disrespect from partners and stuff like that. So I suppose, you know, do women, yes, they want respect, but you know, you hear so much, like not just women, men as well, they accept disrespect as well. So maybe respect isn't like 100% like has to be a given. So what is it that makes people like stay in relationships when, yeah, all right, there is respect at the start, but then, you know, when things go wrong and there is a level of disrespect, what is it that makes people stay and carry on? And then I was thinking about that, and I thought to myself, it must be hope, like hope for a better future sort of thing. Like if you're wanting to invest in someone and build a life and be in a relationship and like sort of, you know, have a future with that person, there's got to be hope for it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just say to yourself, nah, do you know what, I'm not feeling it, and you cut ties and you end it. So I think what women want is hope. And that was my sort of conclusion on it.
Yeah.
So what were your 3 things again? It was respect.
So my 3 things for me was respect, consistency, and stability. But other women. So like when you look at relationships, maybe not necessarily they need stability, because sometimes when you go into a relationship with someone, you could be at the lowest point of your life. Like you could be going through addiction or something like that, and then you meet that person and then you beat it together. So like you don't necessarily 100% every woman needs or wants stability, but I think they need hope for that stability in order to like actually, you know, be a good solid relationship that actually goes the distance. You know, so you don't necessarily have to have the stability straight away, because a lot of relationships happen, you know, you've meet people when, you know, you least expect it, when you're maybe like at rock bottom at your lowest, and then you meet someone and then together you sort of like bring each other out of the gutter and sort of build on that, innit? So
I guess it can also go the other way as well. Like, just say, like, I'm thinking of people that are in addiction. There's probably stability in both of them being in addiction. Like, not stability in it, but like they can support each other. It comes to habit then, doesn't it? They're not supporting the household, they're supporting the habit. So I guess I've never thought of it like that. Like, that's why, because generally people don't want to be in addiction, but then they'll be in addiction with someone like a partner and stuff, and they know they're not good for each other, but they'll stay in it. And I'm just thinking, it could be down to like kind of being able to rely on the other person. So Reece, what do you think women want?
Well, like Kayleigh said, there's different varieties of women.
Yeah.
I know from my previous relationships and my experience, there's some women in my younger days. Some women like to be the center of attention. So, I mean, if you're dating a woman who's a 10 out of 10, you've kind of she's obviously, she kind of knows in herself. She's quite a high end of the market. She wants a lot of attention, maybe a lot of time spent with her. It's difficult in those times. But most recent relationships, more grown-up relationships, I found that women want similar things, like Kayleigh said, stability. They want a working man, a loyal, trustworthy man, someone that can share secrets with, someone that can come to with problems, and someone that can depend on when times come and struggle. Is my personal prediction of it. So something along those lines. I mean, it's a difficult topic. I mean, there's 9 billion people in the world. A very massive margin of those people are women, and not everybody's the same.
So my take, like what I think women want, or it depends which type of like group I set my eyes on. But I can see the hope thing, Kayleigh. That's massive. Like, so I do wonder. Like, I've always wondered, like, why I guess some men, but not really men. From the people that I can go off people that I know, it's mainly women. Why did they stick around when it's a difficult relationship? And
then when you speak to them about it, they'll be like, "Oh, because he says he's gonna change." So it's that hope in it. They're hanging on to that hope.
Game. In time. But what I see, or what I believe that women want, like the stability thing, that's something that is something that I can see as well. Like that financially, like you were saying, Greenie, is like, because I'm thinking about like the streets, the roadside, and a lot of like drug dealing kind of partners. You know what I mean? And being with them and the stability in a sense of the relationship turbulent. There is no stability like that. But financially, it's good.
The food's on the table, the roof is over the head.
Holidays are bussing. There's all types of stuff that, like, extra cosmetic things that are going on these days. So I do get it, because if you're not feeling, it's not to say that everyone who's not feeling good needs to feel good by doing something like just cosmetically. But I do know some people say, it makes me feel good. Which is like a fresh trim makes me feel good. I feel much better. I ain't got one right now. I'm glad you can't see me, even though I'm on camera. Not like Green. He was always fresh to death. You know what I mean? Bless him. I need to leap out of your book for 2023, man. But so Kayleigh, tell me more about this, because the hope thing has just made me. I mean, I'm liking this.
Well, like when you think about people that are in, like, say, domestically violent relationships and stuff like that, you think because at first I thought it's respect, 100% it's respect, and then you think, nah, because when you look at relationships, and every relationship sort of has like rocky moments, tests and stuff like that, there's a level of disrespect. So it can't be respect is the one fundamental thing. It's got to be hope, because when you speak to sort of women that are like in domestically violent relationships or anything like that, you always say to them, why do you put up with it? Why do you stay? Why do you accept the disrespect? And and it's always like, because I when it's good, it's good. It's just when it's bad, it's really bad. And there's that aspect of the hoping that the good times are going to outweigh the bad times. There's the hope that in the future the person isn't going to behave like that anymore. you know, because obviously what happens is, you know, like there's fisticuffs, something physical happens, and then like they come back and there's the apologising, sorry, I'll never do it again, and then you hang on to that, don't you? And that's why you stay. So that's why I thought it's 100%. It's got to be hope, because it's not like everyone does want respect, but then when you look at relationships now, and you know, speak to people that are in relationships, you know, people accept disrespect, so it can't be respect. It's got to be hope that in the future there will be, you know, it'll all be like sunshines and roses, and you know, and it'll be great, because it can't be like all family, because not everyone's like, oh, you know, I want kids and stuff like that, because not everyone wants kids. Some people can't have kids, you know, so it's got to, you know, you've got to have like similar views on what you want your future of being with a partner to be like, whether it's, oh, we want to go traveling around the world. You know, if you're dating someone who has no interest, who doesn't even have a passport, and has no interest on leaving, you know, their hometown, but you want to go out and you want to see the world, it's not going to work, is it? You've got to have some similar sort of common ground on interest. But then that's the hope thing as well, then, isn't it? You meet someone and you're like, oh, I want to go traveling too, and then you're like, oh, right, so I could actually see a future with us, because, you know, there's that hope that you're going to be my travel buddy, basically. So it's 100%. It's got to be hope.
One thing that I do see as well, where it looks like, is I feel like some women just can't stand to be lonely.
Yeah,
like,
I totally get that.
Jump into like relationships.
Yeah, out of fear of being alone.
Yeah, like just I don't know what it is. Like I know that men get lonely too. Don't get me wrong. I get lonely too. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a thing. It is a feeling. But like, I mention women more because some of the people that they're bringing into their lives, women have generally got kids as well at home, and they're bringing like what turns out to be dangerous people home.
Yeah.
Not dangerous, but you know what I'm saying.
Just because they don't want to be alone. I know exactly what you're saying.
And it's traumatic. I believe it's traumatic for the children. Do you know what I mean?
And I think it's because women are more emotionally wired. Women tend to like run their lives and stuff on like feeling and like emotion, how things feel, whereas men are probably a bit more practical. And that's probably why men don't, so like you were saying in your mental health podcast, the previous one, like men don't talk about the feelings, and that needs to be a bit more. I think it's because it's sort of men aren't as emotionally wired as women are. You know, women, you know, we go through like hormone changes constantly, you know, like periods and stuff like that. So like our emotions can go from 0 to 100 in like a matter of seconds. So with the whole like women sort of having that fear of being alone, like that comes into it as well, because you know, if you've been so this is like literally just happened to me as well. So like I was in a relationship for 5 years. I'd never lived on my own before. So like obviously I lived with my parents, I met a guy, everything was good, we moved in together, we'd been together 5 years, we had a child, everything was all good, and then all of a sudden he left. Like he didn't want to be in the relationship anymore. That's fine, that's up to him. Obviously that was quite traumatic for me, but I'd never lived on my own before. Like I know I had my daughter as well, but like, you know, I'd always lived with a man, you know, and then all of a sudden I'm in these same 4 walls, but I'm by myself, and it's traumatic. And I totally get it when women do try and sort of jump into another relationship straight away. But I think what stopped me was like my daughter, because like you say, some women do have dangerous people coming in, you know, and exposing your child to that. That's why I'm saying that I'm looking for stability, because I've made it clear when I've been dating guys, and this is like why it's not gone any further with guys, you know, I've made it clear, look, I'm a single parent, I've got a child, I don't want you in my house. Like, I'm not going to meet you in my house because I don't want my child meeting someone who potentially isn't going to be here, you know, in weeks or months down the line. If you're going to be introduced to my child, you're going to be a constant in their life. Therefore, I'm not going to introduce you until I'm sure. But that's where I'm lucky in that I've got like family support, and you know, her dad is still a big part of her life. So I have opportunities where like I can actually go and meet a guy, just me and him. Whereas some single mums probably don't have that. So they've got no choice, but they've got to have the guy to come round to the house because they've got no one that can look after the kid. And it's scary because it's dangerous because obviously like you don't know this guy, and then all of a sudden you find out, you know, he's doing dangerous things, or he's, you know, on the wrong side of the law and stuff like that, and you don't want your child around that. But by the time you found out, it's too late because you've exposed your child to it so early. You know, and if your child's older as well, and you even go as far as introducing your child to that man, you know, they're then going to ask, where's that guy gone? So like, yeah, I've like it, when I've been dating, it's been like, I've got a child, but like, you're not coming to my house. And I've actually had guys like persist and be like, oh no, just let us round and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, no, like it's just not happening. And that's a red flag. Like, no, I don't want you around my child. Respect that as the parent.
So what are your red flags?
My red flags, I suppose straight away, like going into like straight away talking about sex. Like it's like try and get to know us as a person. Like obviously if we do click and there is a vibe, then yes, sex would be on the cards like it would with anyone that you got on with. But if you're going on about it straight away, first thing, it's like, nah, like that's a red flag. Because it's like that's all you're interested in. You're not interested in me as a person. You're making it clear to me that you're just wanting your leg over. So that's probably a big red flag.
Any more?
I think trying to think what other red flags there would be, because like obviously I've been dating on been like going on Tinder every now and then. I mean, I get bored and delete it, but like when they ask you for your Snapchat straight away, like that's a red flag. Like straight away asking us for, you got Snapchat, like right, that's it, blocked. Like
why is that?
Because obviously they're only after pictures and stuff like that. Like you know what I mean? It's like no. Like, try and find out about me as a person first. See if we've actually got anything in common and a vibe. But that's because, so, like, a lot of people use Tinder, like, just for, like, a hookup, don't they?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I'm actually, like, using it to actually, like, date people and meet. But for a lot of people, it does work. Like, I mean, it worked for you, Reece, didn't it? Like, Tinder and dating and stuff, you know? But, like, for me, so far, it hasn't worked, so I just keep deleting it.
Do you think the like society and culture is moving away from relationships, you guys?
100%.
Do you think like the hookup culture's kind of here to stay, the smash and dash type of thing?
Yeah.
Well, it's getting too easy now.
Yeah, with like apps like Tinder.
Like literally, like I've noticed in this modern day and age, there is a lot of women out there who are very interested in try before you buy, you know, sort of things. You know, that's the nicest way I can put it, to be fair. I mean, there's been times on Tinder where obviously, you know, I've had offers within 5 minutes of getting to know a person. No answers regarding that question, unfortunately. You know, so, you know, but yeah, it's one of them things. I mean, dating and romance has gone right out the window compared to how I remembered it. I mean, you have to kind of charm a woman. I mean, I always gone with laughter. The best way to a woman's heart for me personally is if you could put a smile on her face and keep it there for as long as you can. You know,
listen. What men want, what I mean, just calm down instead of a pod. That, do you know what I mean?
A different pod, yeah.
That's a different one.
Yeah, it's still what women want, though, isn't it? I mean,
you're right there.
Yeah, I mean, women still want smiles kept on the face, so
they do.
You know,
would you agree, Kayleigh?
Oh yeah, 100% effort.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I mean,
women do want effort.
Yeah, I mean, women like funny guys. I mean, obviously, you know, I could see from a woman's point of view, just like, you know, if you were in the jungle, the lion, the dominant lion, gets all the lionesses, you know.
He's
like
making them laugh, innit?
Yeah.
What about the hyenas then?
Well,
is the hyena getting anything?
I don't know, possibly the same. I mean,
Making
in
them
a
laugh at
hyena
kids,
world,
you know what I mean?
I could understand why. Like, I've seen so many times women going around with gangster-looking dudes in neighborhoods and hard-looking men because it's the dominant one. You know, like that's the dominant guy.
The alpha male.
Yeah, the alpha male. So, but unfortunately, you know, it's can't have the best of both worlds. You might be the alpha male, but you might be needing to borrow a bus fare to come see you. You know, and obviously women don't want that.
He might alpha male her as well. Do you know what I mean? If he's alpha male guys, where does it? Can he turn it off?
Exactly. I mean, he might not be able to switch. I mean, he might be in charge of a group of men, but want to come home and be in charge of a woman, and women don't want that. I mean, women want 50-50 relationships. You know, so it's
that's a red flag when like you've got a guy and he's like, oh, women should stay at home and like cook the tea and clean that. That's a red flag for me.
It's too old school, that, isn't it?
Too old school. I make my own money. I pay my own mortgage. I make my own meals.
Yeah.
Like, you are not telling me that I am like being a housewife. You know what I mean? Not happening.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. What you mentioned there, Greenie, about like the gangster type dudes. What one thing I do see as well is someone will be with, like, a woman will be with probably she might be into like your baddish boy kind of guys, but she's going from like rougher guy to rougher guy, and I don't know where it stops being a physical attraction and being a necessity, because these guys are a bit loose, like the loose cannons. Do you know what I mean? These guys are banging on doors. These guys are turning up to work. Do you know what I mean? These guys are belling phones off like 16,000 times. I mean, so then having to go with somebody else that can defend her against the last madman, and then having to go to like another. It's like a game. Like I've got like a boss on like level 1, but then like the boss at the end of level 2 is harder than the boss on level 1, and so on and so forth to hit the final boss. Do you know what I mean? And then like just say this girl gets in a relationship with like the final boss. Who's going to protect her against him when that goes south?
Yeah, I think it's probably a lot of like, you know, a woman with a butch dude. She's obviously thinking, well, nobody's going to pester me on Facebook to see naked photos knowing that he's my boyfriend. You know, it's obviously that's one way of her trying to say, well, you know, I'm with him, so obviously people wouldn't dare approach me in the streets if they knew who he was. But again, it's maybe not the best choice for some women. Works for some people.
Yeah,
I know. I've noticed that a lot of quiet girls, you know, like really goody two-shoe girls, they say opposites attract. I've known really goody two-shoe A-star student girls throughout my school to be going out with criminals. And that's always puzzled my brain, thinking, how did that work then? You know, I know that opposites attract, but what does she want in him? You know,
because it's the excitement, because they've never like experienced it before.
Yeah.
Possibly,
yeah. That's why. No, that literally is what it is. Like, you know, you got a girl that's like goody two shoes. She's only ever been around boys that are like goody two shoes. All of a sudden, you've got this guy that's like quite, you know, tough looking and stuff like that. Even more so if like that girl is a bit of a goody two shoes at school and the boys are picking on her, like say like she's not the 10 out of 10 like Reece was on about before. You know, she's quite self-conscious about herself. There has been comments made to her, and then all of a sudden this bad boy comes along and he's interested in her, and she's like, oh my god, like this guy actually is interested in me and not the 10 out of 10. Like, that makes me feel good about myself. And then there's that sort of like the unknown, isn't it? So they want to find out more. And sometimes, you know, because like I've been with guys that are like bad boys and stuff like that, and it's like, you can, when you get to know them as a person, you know, they're not all bad. They're on a wrong path. You know.
Have any of these guys ever got off that path?
You see that potential in them. But unfortunately, they're on this path that they can't get out of. Unfortunately, like you were saying, like gangs and stuff, like it's hard to get out of a gang. So you know they're stuck there in that life. But you've met that person, you've got to know them on a deeper level because you've had that one-to-one time with them, and you've got to know actually he's not a dick. He does dickish things. You know, he's not making right choices. But you can see that he knows that he doesn't want to be a part of that life. It's just that is his life, and he's accepted it, and he's rolling with it. And there's that hope thing again. You hope that as the goody two shoes girl that you can change them, but not all the time you can.
Yeah, I do see that a lot. Where I think like girls, think what is that? Like, why did he? Where does that like come from? That like, I can help him. I've even heard like girls actually say, I can help him. Like, because I've never seen anyone do it. But
it's like an instinct, isn't it? Like I'm saying, women are emotionally wired. It's like an instinct. We've like got a nurturing instinct. So like we do it with the men as well. Like if you know a woman's with a man and she's invested in that relationship with that man, you know, she wants to look after her man and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying I don't like the old school ways of the woman should be at home and like looking after the kids and cooking and cleaning, but at the same sense, like I would look after my man as well. Like and women are like that. So if your man's going through a tough time, just like if I was going through a tough time as well, I'd want that support. So like you support your partner. So that's what it is. Like, you know, if your partner's going through a tough time, you want to support them, you want to nurture them, you want to help them.
No, I hear that. So just like quickly touching back on what I was on about before when I was saying about I've seen like women go from like one bad guy to like someone that's more serious than more serious than him and more serious than him. So I was wondering like where it stops being actually a necessity, like it's like a weapon. She's not using the guy as a weapon. It's more like a defensive, but it's just toxicity at its essence because the guys are still no good kind of thing. It's still like the red flag stuff is showing what you were saying earlier. So I was wondering what your thoughts are around that. If you ever if you've seen it yourself or anything, like just
I don't think I've seen it myself, but I can only imagine, you know, when they're going like deeper and deeper.
I'm sorry, once again, kids are involved and stuff, you know, and these guys are like, you know, like instead of smashing up houses,
so
smashing up hair and stuff.
They've got them. So, you know, I was saying before, like you've got those guys that are on that path and they can't come off that path. Obviously, once the women have then got into that path, they're on that path too. So they start with like maybe like the guy that's smoking weed, right? They've now accepted as part of their reality that, you know, smoking weed and stuff is okay. Then the next guy is maybe like harder drugs, I don't know, like cocaine or something like that. And then you're like, oh well, you know, you were all right with like your class C's. Now you're onto your class B's, and it comes part of your reality, and you're leveling up sort of like that way. It's like smoking, isn't it? So like you start smoking cigarettes. So you start smoking cigarettes, and then you start making friends, or you get into a relationship with someone that then starts smoking weed, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to try it?" You know, and you know it looks like a cigarette. It's not a cigarette, you know, it's not a cigarette, but this guy's doing it, and you know, it's sort of almost that peer pressure, isn't it? And then you try it, and then it's like, oh well, nothing really bad happened, and then that's when the addiction starts, and so maybe it's like an addiction, and that's why they go on to like the more dangerous, because they survived the lower level sort of like guy. Now they've met the higher one. And they're like, it's like you were saying, it's like a level up, isn't it? So it's like, oh, like that guy liked me, it didn't work out. This guy is even more dangerous, but you know, I survived that guy, so maybe I can survive this guy too, and maybe I can help him. I don't know. Like it's different. Like every situation's different, isn't it? But I just think it's that case of once you're down that path, it's like there's almost like no going back now, is there? Because you're just on that road now, and sometimes it's not as simple as just saying no, I don't want this anymore. Sometimes you're forced onto it.
No, you're right. Greenie, still there?
I am, yeah. I'm learning.
You're learning. Me too.
Learning.
Like I said, this is why we're doing these shows, man.
This is why we're doing it, man.
This is why we're doing it.
Hopefully we can help people. As long as I'm getting helped as well. But yeah, anything you'd like to add, Greenie?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, like Kayleigh said, I mean, people start from a first level and then move up through the levels until I have a complete mind lapse. You know, they start thinking, right, well, I need to try something opposite. This ain't working for me. I need to wander down a different path, which is very hard to do when you've been on the same path for a very, very long time. You don't know nothing different.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, yeah, like I say, I mean, it's at the moment for me, it's a big learning curve. I'm listening, paying attention, trying to put myself in women's situations and try and look at it from their point of view. But I think Kayleigh's personally nailing it all on the head. I mean, there's definitely been talk here that it's opened up my brain a bit more anyway, looking at her point of view.
Yeah. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think we'll leave it there for today, if that's all right, everyone.
Not a problem.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Kayleigh, for joining us, and hopefully you can join us again at some point.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it, definitely.
Yeah, brilliant. And Greenie, you're a star.
Yep, always.
And you know you are.
Likewise.
Right, okay then. Okay, everybody. So that's it. So hopefully we can get Kayleigh on again, and she can share some more of her insights.
Women's wisdom.
Women's wisdom, that's the one. That's what I might call this section, the women's wisdom section. But yeah, thanks for joining us, guys, yeah?
All right, thank you.
All right, see you in a bit. All right, bye. So that's it. Thanks for listening. Me gone.